Okay, this is part 2 of the ProLogger Suite demo video. This one's going to go over just the compare functionality of the logging tool. So this is, again, is a really powerful tool for comparing runs back to back to see exactly where you gained, where you picked up, and where you may have lost. So I've already got a couple of logs open up. This is at a track session where literally back-to-back runs. This is the first run that was ran, and then the next run with some changes that we use based on data that we'll kind of go over in this log, where we picked up based on the log data that we've gotten. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is want to go over how you set up your information. Alright, so when you open the log, you'll notice this yellow line here. Let me clean this up a little bit. I'm just going to click on a template here so that we get some of this clutter so it's easier to see. Alright, so I just clicked on the fuel tuning template to get rid of all the other stuff that isn't related to fuel tuning, so now it's a little cleaner to look at. You'll notice right away on the zoom window, this is where the run is, and this is where the burnout was. Well, the software automatically knew where the run was because it looked at the launch timer and zeroed this out. So in zeroing out this log, we opened the calibration. It took us right to the run, so we didn't have to sort through that. If we want to go back and look at the burnout, we can just do this, scroll back, take a look, make any changes we want to do there, and then we can come back this way. Or from this point here, we can set the zero time or the zero range, and it's going to automatically drop us over to that portion of the log. So if we hit that, it resets the log, puts us right back to that area in the window where the log was, the run was made. So from this zero marker, as we scroll through, it shows us the time in that run where that happened. Okay, so we've got our 60-foot marker, 330, 660, 1,000 foot, 1320, all that's right in there. Okay, that information is entered in the log info. So in this log information, you can put notes, you can put the driver, the car, the weight, the date, the track, all this stuff, so that later on down the road, this information is saved with this log. You can open it and know exactly what was going on. Gear ratio, converter, turbo size, things like that. That information's handy for maybe the next year you made some changes and you wanted to go back and look and see what you were running in that particular combo at that point in time. Then you also, if you want to share this with a tuner, they may want to know some of this information as well. So that's what this is here. So then you've got your incrementals, which you go through and enter your time slip, left or right lane, what the 60-foot, etc., all that stuff was. And then these check marks here tell the software if you want to display a marker at that particular point. Okay, so that's what that's for. Alright. You can also show, while you're in the log, the time slip information up here, so you can go through the data and it just displays that information. Okay, so we've got the two runs open here. So what we want to do now is I want to look at the difference between these two runs. So I'm just going to click on the compare log function. Okay, so it's going to go through and compile all that information and then put new markers here to show what the differences were. Okay, so within this run, now in each one of these things we can set different templates. So as I clicked on the fuel one, in that second log it shows us that we're in the fuel template. So just to make things easier for jumping around right now, I'm just going to set the fuel template up for all three of these, just so we're always looking at the same data when we jump back and forth. Alright, so within this log it's lined up our runs for us. Okay, it showed us the dotted lines. All the dotted information is our reference run, which is the first log that we've opened. Okay, so that's our first run, which in this case is a slower run. That's what we want, is we always want to go faster. So you'll see the difference in the splits right here, right in this indicator, and it also tells you in the corner here what the difference was at that time when you put your mouse over it. So it tells me that the new run was 0.16 seconds faster to 330. And then you can go back here, it's 0.19 seconds faster, and so on. So all the way down the 0.21, all the way down to the end of the quarter mile. Alright, so that's pretty handy information. If you click on the time slip, it's going to also show you the delta, the difference in times here. Okay, now the important stuff, the really important stuff, the differences in the runs here. So if I want to go and see, okay, well, why is I quicker to 60? I can go to this run and see immediately I've got way more RPM at this point than I did in the other. 576 to be exact. Where did all that RPM come from? Well, I'm 2.6 pounds more boost on this particular run. Okay, and this is a 417 cubic inch twin turbo LSX engine in a Mustang. So that 2.6 pounds is a fair amount of power. obviously it liked it, and that's what we determined from the previous run, is we needed to hit it with more power here based on the acceleration G's that we were looking at. So by overlaying these two logs, you can really see where you gained and where you hurt. At any one time, you put the cursor in a spot, it's going to show you the difference in this column, what the reference file was at, and what you're at now. So you'll notice here that the tuning wise, we didn't touch anything. The feeling's exactly the same. The timing's barely different just because of the amount of boost that we're running. It's a little bit more boost on this run, so a little less timing. All that stuff you can see right here in this log. So everything else basically is the same. Make sure, looking at this log, you can see right on the 0 line there. If you left, we left with a little bit more RPM on that run. We bumped it up just a touch. So all that stuff is displayed right here, and you can see the differences. So as a compare tool, this is really valuable to help determine if the gains or the changes that you're making are getting you gains at the track. Okay, so at any one time, again, you can click on an individual run and just kind of continue to go through that data, and then click back on the compare file and see what the difference was between the two. So you can come back here and say I want to look at traction control. Click on that template and it's going to show you the data for traction control, your Excel Gs, what your RPM was, your normal things, any wheel spin you're getting. This particular car didn't have wheel speed sensor set up, but it's all right there. Okay, so that's the compare function in the software. It's a really, really valuable tool. I think everybody's going to use it a lot. If you're doing a lot of racing, it's a great tool to really help dial in the car from run to run to make sure that you're doing things consistently, making sure that you're leaving at the same RPM and the same boost to get consistency in your 60 foot, things like that. It'll really help you kind of digest what's going on with the vehicle.